Welcome back to another episode of Publicized Theory Podcast, the place where I talk about self mastery, self development, and concepts that'll help all of us become the best version of ourselves. Happy Friday, everyone. This episode, I really want to talk about when enough is enough. How do we identify our maximum point of fulfillment? When do we actually feel fulfilled? And how can we reach the level of fulfillment when we are constantly wanting and desiring new things each and every day? It's a struggle for most. It's a struggle for me. We do live in a hyper-consumerism society that demands that we consume more and more and more each day, which consequently leads us to never feeling like enough is enough. It leads us to feel like we always want more. It allows us to never really feel happy, if that's the right way to say it. How do we reach a point in our lives of maximum fulfillment? Where do we begin? How do we assess if we even feel fulfilled? And more importantly, what are the steps that we can take to reach that level of maximum fulfillment? Going back in time and thinking about how we became the society that we are now in terms of the 40-hour work week, the rat race, the consumerism, and always feeling like we have to buy something in order to feel good about what we have or what we accomplish or what we deem to be a cause for celebration. It all began obviously many years ago, but just how society has been shaped over the years, post-industrial revolution and the introduction of machines and the economy and society becoming more optimized via the machinery and jobs being replaced with machines, and feeling like it's been somewhat of a loop and a cycle of how society has developed this hyper consumerism lifestyle. This kind of lifestyle is what leads many of us to not have one, financial stability, because we are spending more than we're bringing in some cases. Two, not really ever feeling happy. And it just continues to be something that we lean on in order to feel emotions that we want to feel more often. And as a result of all of that, we become habituated to expecting even more of ourselves and even more from the world. But rather than satisfaction, our experience is that the more we have, the more we want, and the less content we are with the status quo. If you live for having it all, what you have is essentially never enough, because you will always want the next best thing. You will always want something else. You will always have a desire for something else. We hear this all the time, or we've come across this saying, I'm sure, whether it's on social media, whether it's just in normal everyday conversation, we hear people say less is more. Now, that has a profound meaning to it now as I look back, because less is more in many ways, because you're not seeking fulfillment by the more, quote unquote, that you have. You feel fulfilled day in and day out with everything that you're blessed with. You have gratitude and satisfaction with all the things that you currently have. But instead of that being the case now for many people, it's the complete opposite. And you can think about this now just in life. Anytime we want to express our happiness, it comes at the cost of consuming something. We want to celebrate a birthday, we go out, we buy drinks, or we buy dinner, or we buy ourselves something. Cool. That's kind of a one-off, a yearly annual thing that we do. No knock to that. Let's say we get off of work early. Oh, let's go get drinks. We're off early, or whatever the case may be. There's so many micro examples that for some reason I'm going blank right now, but just think about all the micro examples in your life where you feel happy and you feel joy, and that leads to you wanting to purchase something or consume something. There are a handful of examples like that. And we must ask ourselves, at what point is enough enough? Why can't I be happy and fulfilled with all that I have? Why must my fulfillment and satisfaction and happiness and fundamental emotional state come from things that comes with a receipt? Most of the time we look at these things and we put a value to it because it makes us happy. And if it makes you happy and it makes you feel the fulfillment that you are looking for, we write it off because what's more important than our happiness? One can argue there's nothing more important than our happiness. In the same breath, though, does it always have to come with consumption? Understanding that the money that we use to consume and buy things comes at a cost, obviously, because most of us work hard for the money and the income that we generate. If we break down our hourly wage or the money that we actually make, in reality, we make less than what our hourly rate is or our salary is, because your job comes with so many other expectations and things that you need to do to prepare for that job, that one can easily tie back a lot of other expenses, a lot of other things that take up your time and your money that is associated with that job. So yes, you may make a certain amount hourly, but the time and the money that is going out just to fulfill that job dwindles that hourly amount. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say you have a job and you need to buy clothes for your job in terms of professional attire. Well, that's money going out the door. Let's say you go out with your coworkers once or twice a week for lunch, for drinks. Well, that's money out the door. There's so many different elements to consumption and how we break down finances and what allows us to feel fulfilled, that by the time you know it, that $20, $30, $40, $50 hourly rate or wage is really 10 to 15 or 20 because of all of the expenses associated with the fulfillment of that occupation. Again, more consumption. So when we break down the nitty gritty of everything, why we spend our money the way we do, why we consume as much as we do, where are our dollars actually going, and how can we really live a more efficient lifestyle that allows us to reach those financial goals, that allows us to feel fulfilled, that allows us to really become, well, the best version of ourselves, but in a state of I have all that I need kind of state. When we realize the value of the money that is leaving our pockets and how it relates to the energy and the time that it takes to, one, get that dollar, but two, the mental hurdles that you have to go through day in and day out just to feel sustained and to feel like you are ready to conquer it all day in and day out, especially if you are in a position where you dislike the job that you have and you dislike this current state that you're in. It's a lot. Consumption kind of eases that process because it gives us the temporary satisfaction that we want, but in many cases that we need just to keep going. Tying back to the question of how can we reach maximum fulfillment, I think that looks differently for everyone. I think that when you take stock of everything that you have and the goals that you have, being honest and open with yourself in a conversation that revolves around, am I consuming and buying things that just serve as temporary fillers when it comes at the cost or the risk of my permanent life in the future? These are dialogues and conversations that we all should have, because it's easy to write off things when we correlate it to our mental well-being or our emotional state. Don't get me wrong. There are things that we need to do so that we are in a great mental state. But at what point do you take accountability and responsibility for the mental state that you have without it coming at the expense of consuming? At the end of the day, we can always look externally for solutions on how to fix internal problems. But most of the time, it won't have a lasting impression in terms of how we feel day in and day out. I think we all can take stock in where we derive our happiness from, where we derive our fulfillment from, and really analyze and ask yourself the questions on what that is and what does that look like. Try to design a fulfillment curve for your life. On one axes have, the possessions or whatever is the lifestyle, and on the other axes have, your level of fulfillment, and see where the peak fulfillment would be. When you kind of look at it that way, you can kind of say to yourself, okay, well, I will never probably get to peak fulfillment if I continue to do this. Why? Because it doesn't allow me to do XYZ. Why? Because it doesn't allow me to save. Why? Because it doesn't allow me to really invest in myself and my dreams because I'm too busy doing X and I'm too busy spending my money here and I could really be doing it here and I really don't need that. I have this. Like there's so many questions that we could be asking ourselves, open and honest questions that can easily expedite the fulfillment process, that can easily show us that we have so much to be grateful for, that we have so much that we really don't need much in the moment. We really could find happiness in all that we have around us that is helping us get to where we want to go. It all starts within, it all starts on our mindset, it all starts on how we perceive everything in our lives. Through that and through those efforts, we will reach the maximum fulfillment at some point in time. It can even be right now, today, in terms of just looking around and saying to yourself, yeah, I may not have this, I may not have that, but I have this, I have this. This will lead me to get that. I'm fulfilled in this current moment. Yes, I have desires. Yes, I have goals. Yes, I have things I want to do and places I want to go. But in this very moment, I'm fulfilled because I have all that I need right now. And if there's something that you need right now, obviously go out and get what you need. But analyze and understand where are the moments where you want something, but you necessarily don't need it. And realize how it impacts your goals and what are the consequences that are attached with that desire, whether it be good or bad. Again, all great questions to ask. I hope that left you with some nuggets over the weekend for you to think about, for you to look around, for you to find ways to, if you're not already, have more gratitude in your day to day, eliminate some unnecessary desires and wants that will only serve as a setback in many ways to your actual goals, your actual dreams. Find ways to be happy, to be fulfilled. Understand your specific fulfillment curve and what does that look like for you in your life and your trajectory as you move forward. Again, thank you all for tapping in with me to another episode of Publicized Theory. If this episode has resonated with you, please don't hesitate to share with your family, your friends, your peers. Leave feedback on any episode. It is greatly appreciated. Have an amazing weekend. Continue to stay safe. Stay blessed.